The human princess chose sacrifice, and the stars watched. Gold melted into crimson, and purple stretched like a curtain across the heavens. Below her, the city sparkled with the lights of human ingenuity, a reminder that even on a planet so far from Earth, humans had survived, had built, had hoped. Yet even in this beauty, there was a shadow, one that had been growing for months. The Vraxian armada was approaching. Stories of their cruelty had traveled from colony to colony. They were an alien race of unmatched strength and discipline, with fleets that had crushed planets with little resistance. Lyrales, as the last major human stronghold in this sector, was their next target. The council had met for hours the previous day, debating defense strategies. The options had been grim. Arya had listened quietly, her mind turning over every detail. Humans were few, and while they had clever technology, numbers mattered more than ingenuity in most battles. The council had argued about fortifications, about surrender, about seeking alliances with alien races, but Arya had felt none of these were enough. They needed something more. The palace doors opened behind her. "Princess Arya," said Captain Elen, one of her oldest and most trusted advisors, "the council will meet again soon. They are concerned about the plan you hinted at yesterday." Arya turned. Her long, silver hair caught the last rays of sunlight. "Let them worry," she said softly, almost to herself. "They do not see what I see. The stars themselves are watching us. They will guide us if we are brave enough to follow." Elen hesitated. "You speak as if the solution is already clear." "But we have no knowledge of any cosmic weapon, only legends. Many believe such stories are old myths meant to inspire children." Arya smiled faintly. "Legends are always born from truth, Captain. Somewhere hidden in the uncharted systems, there is a weapon that our ancestors left behind. If we find it, humanity might have a chance. If we do not, I fear this world will fall." Elen studied her for a long moment, sensing the determination in her words. "And you mean to lead this mission yourself?" "Yes," Arya said firmly. "I am not just a symbol, I am human, and humans have never faced the impossible and turned away. If we are to survive, I must act, not hide behind walls of stone or excuses." The next day, she gathered her team. They were a small but skilled group, scientists, navigators, engineers, and warriors, all chosen for their loyalty and intelligence. None questioned her decision. They understood that Princess Arya's courage was not only a beacon for them, but for the entire human race. Their ship, the Astrea, was modest in size but advanced in technology, designed for speed and maneuverability. As they prepared to depart, Arya walked the ship, inspecting every detail. Her crew followed silently, inspired by her presence. As they lifted off, the city below became smaller, a patchwork of lights fading into the distance. Arya felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. Fear for what awaited them among the stars, and exhilaration because she was finally acting. She looked out of the window, imagining the galaxies beyond, wondering what had been waiting for humans all along. The first few days were quiet, though tense. The stars seemed endless, a vast ocean of possibilities and dangers. Each night, Arya would stand at the observation deck, staring at constellations that only humans had named, feeling the weight of her responsibility. Her crew took turns at their duties, scanning for Vraxian patrols or uncharted phenomena. Yet, despite the routine, every human on board sensed the same truth. They were venturing into the unknown, and the unknown did not forgive mistakes. On the fourth day, a disturbance appeared on their sensors. A nebula stretched before them, its colors swirling like molten glass. Within it were unusual energy readings, patterns that made the crew uneasy. "Princess," said Lyran, the ship's navigator, "these readings are unlike anything we have seen. They could be dangerous." Arya nodded, her eyes still fixed on the nebula. "Or they could be a clue. Every legend of our ancestors points toward hidden places forgotten in time. Perhaps this nebula is one such place." The crew exchanged worried glances, but they followed her orders. Carefully, the Astrea moved into the nebula. Outside the viewports, the colors danced, almost alive. Electrical storms crackled across the void, yet the ship held steady. Arya's heart pounded, not with fear, but with the thrill of discovery. Suddenly, a voice echoed across the communications system. It was not human. It was deep, resonant, and almost melodic. "Why do you enter where humans are not welcome?" Arya stepped forward. "I am Princess Arya of Lyrales. We seek what was left by our ancestors. We mean no harm to the cosmos, only to protect my people from those who would destroy them." There was silence, then a soft laugh that vibrated through the ship. Few humans have spoken with courage in my presence. I am the watcher of this nebula. You may pass, but heed this warning. The path you seek is dangerous, and the choice you will face may demand more than you are ready to give. Arya swallowed hard, understanding the weight of the words. She looked at her crew. We do not seek glory, we seek survival, and if we are brave, perhaps we will learn the truth of our own strength. The ship passed through the nebula, guided by instinct, technology, and Arya's quiet determination. Inside, they found ruins, an ancient starship floating silently in the void. Its design was unmistakably human, yet older than any records in their archives. Arya's pulse quickened. This was it. This was the beginning of hope. As they docked and entered the ruins, they found evidence of a weapon not like any ordinary technology. It pulsed faintly as if alive. Arya could feel it responding to her presence, almost recognizing her courage. The crew was awed, but also cautious. This is incredible, whispered Lyran. If this is what the legends spoke of, it could turn the tide for humanity. Arya nodded, touching the smooth surface of the device. It hummed beneath her fingertips. It is not the device alone, she said quietly. It is the choice, the decision of who wields it and why, that will determine the fate of our people. The crew gathered around her, sensing the enormity of the moment. Arya looked at each of them, then back at the stars beyond the viewport. We are human, she said, voice steady. We may be small in numbers, but we are capable of courage, of sacrifice, and of hope. If we fail, Lyrallis may fall. If we succeed, humanity will shine brighter than any star. That night, Arya did not sleep. She stayed in the ruins, staring at the weapon, trying to understand it, trying to feel the path she must take. Outside, the stars twinkled, silent witnesses to her resolve. Somewhere deep in her heart, she knew that the journey ahead would test her in ways she could not imagine. And yet she felt ready, because humans had always faced the impossible, and she was human. The crew slept in shifts, leaving Arya alone with her thoughts. She thought of her people, of the children who played in the streets of Lyrallis, of her parents who had taught her the value of wisdom and bravery. She thought of the future that depended on her choice. And she made a silent promise. She would do whatever it took to protect humanity, even if it demanded more than she could give. As the twin suns rose on Lyrallis far behind her, casting their pale light across the ruins, Arya smiled. She was ready. The stars watched, and she would not fail them. The Astrea remained docked at the ancient ship. Outside, the void stretched endlessly, filled with unknown dangers and unseen wonders. Yet inside, the human spirit burned brightly. And at the center of it all stood Princess Arya, the human princess who chose courage, ready to face the trials the stars had set before her. The ruins hummed with a strange energy as Princess Arya and her crew explored deeper into the ancient starship. The walls were lined with symbols and markings that no human had seen for centuries, patterns that seemed both mechanical and alive. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something older, something from a time before humans had even reached Lyrallis. Lyran, the navigator, carefully traced the glowing markings with a scanning device. These readings are extraordinary, he whispered. I've never seen anything like it. It's almost like it's waiting for someone to come. Elen, the captain, furrowed his brow. Waiting for someone? That sounds like legend again. Are you saying it recognizes Princess Arya? Arya stepped forward, touching the surface of one of the walls. The glow brightened where her fingers rested. It may not be legend, Captain. It may be alive in its own way. And somehow it knows what we are capable of. Humans are not strong in numbers, but in courage. Perhaps this recognizes that. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. They were scientists, warriors, and engineers, not mystics. Yet there was a palpable sense that something ancient and intelligent was here, and it had noticed them. They found a central chamber that looked like the bridge of the ancient ship. At the center of the room was a device unlike anything they had seen, a crystalline structure that pulsed with energy, floating above a pedestal. Tiny sparks danced across its surface, and it emitted a soft hum like a heartbeat. Lyran stepped closer, scanning the device. It's incredible. The energy readings, it's like a concentrated star. If harnessed, it could generate enough force to destroy fleets or perhaps entire planets. Arya felt a chill run down her spine. That is why the legends exist, she said softly. A weapon so powerful that only the bravest and most selfless can use it without losing themselves. Elen frowned. Selfless, what does that mean exactly? Are you saying someone has to sacrifice themselves to use it? Arya nodded. Perhaps. The legends spoke of a choice, a human life given willingly. I do not yet know what that means, but it may be the key to saving Lyralis and all human colonies. The crew spent hours studying the device, trying to understand it. It was not just a weapon, it seemed to respond to thought, to intent. When Arya approached, the glow intensified as if acknowledging her presence. The others tried, but the device remained calm, its energy gentle and watchful. Princess, said Lyran finally, I think it is choosing. I don't fully understand how, but I believe it reacts to who we are, not just what we do. Arya nodded, looking at the hum of energy. She could feel the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. If this is true, it is not the weapon that decides the future. It is us, our courage, our choices, our humanity. Their calm study was interrupted by a sudden alarm from the ship's sensors. Outside, a Vraxian patrol had detected their presence and was closing in fast. Arya's heart pounded. We need to move quickly, she said. The weapon may be our only chance, but if we are caught unprepared, Lyralis may fall before we even return. Elen ordered the crew to prepare defenses. Shields were activated, weapons primed. Outside the viewport, sleek black Vraxian ships approached, their formations precise and deadly. Arya's crew worked with focus and skill, but the humans were outnumbered. The Vraxian ships easily outclassed them in firepower. Arya closed her eyes for a moment, centering herself. Remember, she said to her crew, humanity is not defined by strength alone. We are clever, resourceful, and brave. We may be few, but we are not powerless. With a calm determination, she guided the Astrea into evasive maneuvers. They weaved through asteroid fields, dived into energy clouds, and used every advantage the nebula offered. The Vraxians fired relentlessly, but Arya's leadership and the crew's skill allowed them to survive. Every movement, every decision, showcased the ingenuity of humans. After hours of tense maneuvers, they managed to lose the Vraxian fleet in the labyrinth of the nebula. Outside, the stars returned to their silent vigil, twinkling like distant eyes watching the courage of a small human crew against impossible odds. The crew gathered in the main chamber, exhausted but alive. We did it, said Lyran, his voice shaking. We actually survived. Arya shook her head, though a small smile touched her lips. We survived because we did not give up. And because we have something they do not, human will, human courage, that is what makes the difference. Elen nodded slowly. You are right, Princess, I see it now, not in the size of our fleet, but in the choices we make. That is our true power. Over the next several days, the crew studied the weapon further. They discovered a small chamber within the ruins that contained records of the ancient humans who had created it. Holographic images flickered to life, showing human explorers working together, building, planning, and ultimately choosing to hide the weapon for future generations. Arya watched in awe. They knew this day would come. They trusted that humans would survive, that we would have courage when it mattered most. Lyran examined the data. Princess, there is a note here. It says the weapon responds only to those who are willing to give everything for humanity. Not for glory, not for power, but for survival, for the greater good. Arya felt the truth of it in her chest. This was why she had been chosen, or perhaps why she had chosen this path. The stars had watched humans for centuries, waiting to see if they could rise to the challenge. She looked at her companions. Each of them had given their loyalty, their skill, and their courage. Together they had survived the Vraxians and reached this point. But now the real test loomed. Using the weapon would not be simple. It required someone willing to sacrifice everything, to put humanity above self. The weight of that choice pressed heavily on Arya. She could feel it in the hum of the device, in the energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. She spent long hours in meditation, standing alone in the chamber, trying to understand what was required. The stars outside seemed to shine brighter through the viewports, as if acknowledging her struggle. The energy of the device pulsed gently, almost guiding her thoughts. Finally, she called her crew together. We face a choice, she said, her voice steady but soft. This weapon can save humanity, but it demands a sacrifice. One of us may have to give everything for our people to survive. That choice may fall on me. The crew looked shocked. Princess, Elen began, but Arya raised a hand. Do not misunderstand. I do not fear life, nor do I wish for others to die. But humanity has survived because we are willing to face impossible odds, because we put the greater good above our own desires. If this weapon demands a choice, then I am ready to bear it. Lyran stepped forward, eyes shining. Princess, you are brave, more than anyone I have ever known. If this is what you choose, we will follow your lead. Humanity will survive because of your courage. Over the next few days, they prepared for the journey back to Lyralli's. The device hummed with energy, responding to Arya's focus and determination. The crew worked tirelessly, ensuring that every system was ready. Outside, the nebula had cleared, revealing the black void of space dotted with stars. The return journey would not be easy. The Vraxians were still in pursuit, and the human fleet on Lyralli's was not prepared for a direct confrontation. Yet Arya felt a calm resolve. They had survived the impossible once. They could do it again. One night, as Arya stood at the observation deck, she spoke softly to the stars. "I do not know what awaits me," she said. "I only know that we must be brave, we must be strong. And if we fall, the story of humanity will not end here. The stars have watched, and they will continue to watch. Perhaps one day, they will see the courage of humans shine brighter than any other race in the galaxy." Her crew watched in silence, inspired by her words. The stars twinkled, indifferent yet somehow approving, as if the universe itself acknowledged the bravery of a small human princess who dared to face impossible odds. As the Astrea left the nebula and entered open space, Arya knew the journey was far from over. Ahead lay battles, unknown dangers, and a choice that could cost her everything. But she also knew one undeniable truth. Humanity had survived through courage, ingenuity, and sacrifice, and she would embody all of these, whatever the stars demanded of her. The Vraxian fleet still hunted them, but Arya felt no fear. She had seen the stars, and they had watched her courage. She would lead her people through the darkness, and perhaps, just perhaps, humanity would shine among the stars forever. The Astrea moved through the black void of space, carrying Princess Arya and her crew toward the heart of the galaxy, where the ancient weapon awaited its purpose. Each moment was tense, as sensors scanned constantly for Vraxian fleets. Though they had survived the nebula, the journey back to Lyralli's would be far more dangerous. Arya stood at the observation deck, her eyes tracing the endless stars. They shone as if alive, their light flickering in silent watch over her and all of humanity. She had felt their gaze before, during moments of doubt and fear, and now she felt it stronger, like a pulse echoing through her soul. The stars were patient witnesses to her courage, but they demanded more than mere bravery. They demanded selflessness. The crew gathered in the central chamber to review the weapon's capabilities. Lyran had studied the ancient data and had learned more than any human had ever known about the device. "Princess," he said, pointing at the holographic display, "this weapon is not like anything we have built. It is alive in a sense, and it responds to the intent of the user. It can destroy entire fleets, even entire planets, but only if the wielder is willing to sacrifice everything for humanity." Alen shook his head. "Everything? What exactly does that mean? Could it mean losing your life?" Arya looked at the glowing crystal. It pulsed softly as if listening. "Perhaps. That may be what it requires. The legend spoke of sacrifice. I believe this is the test. The device does not simply respond to strength. It responds to the heart of the human who dares to use it. And I feel that it recognizes me, my purpose, and my willingness." Her words were heavy with the weight of destiny. The crew stared at her, unsure whether to be inspired or fearful. Yet in Arya's eyes, they saw calm determination. This was not a princess hiding behind her title. This was a human prepared to make impossible choices for the greater good. Days passed as they navigated toward Lyralli's. The Vraxian fleet had reorganized and was more relentless than before. The humans moved cautiously, using strategy and intelligence to evade superior firepower. Every maneuver, every decision, showcased their ingenuity. Arya led with quiet strength, her confidence inspiring her crew even in moments of near defeat. One night, as the Astrea drifted through a region of space rich with dying stars, Arya retreated to the chamber housing the weapon. Alone, she placed her hands on the glowing crystal. Its pulse matched her heartbeat, steady and rhythmic, and she felt a strange warmth spread through her body. The device seemed aware of her thoughts, of her intentions, and of her willingness to protect her people at any cost. Suddenly, images appeared in the air before her. They were memories, or perhaps warnings, of humans who had faced impossible choices. They had acted with courage, with loyalty, with selflessness. and each had been watched by the stars, their actions recorded in the silent witness of the cosmos. The weapon projected possibilities, not just actions. Arya saw herself standing over the Vraxian fleets, victorious but alone, her life given to ensure humanity survived. She felt the gravity of that vision, but she did not flinch. She turned to her companions when they entered quietly behind her. "I have seen what may be required," she said, "and I am ready to make the choice. The weapon will ask for everything. Perhaps it will demand my life, but if we are to save humanity, I must be willing." Lyran stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Princess, you are more than brave, you are human, and that is why this device responds to you. But you do not have to face this alone. We will follow you, whatever choice you make. Humanity stands together." Elen nodded. "We will not abandon you. If sacrifice is required, it will be shared in spirit, if not in body. Humanity is stronger than one person, but you are its heart." Their words gave Arya strength. She realized that the device's power was not just in its energy. It was in the human spirit. Its true weapon was the courage to face impossible odds, the ability to prioritize others above oneself, and the willingness to endure loss for the sake of a greater good. The following day, they approached the edge of Vraxian space. The enemy had mobilized, and their fleet was massive, a dark storm of ships that dwarfed anything humans had ever seen. Yet Arya did not hesitate. "We have come this far," she said, her voice calm, resolute. "We will not turn back now. Humanity does not yield in the face of fear. We fight not because we are strong, but because we are brave." The battle began with sudden intensity. Vraxian ships opened fire, their weapons precise and deadly. The Astrea darted through space, weaving through explosions, its small frame making it difficult to target. Arya directed maneuvers with a calm authority, guiding the crew through deadly encounters. Every human aboard moved with purpose, relying on intelligence and ingenuity to survive. Lyran shouted from the navigation console, "Princess, the fleets are too many. Even with the device, we cannot defeat them without using it." Arya approached the weapon chamber. She placed her hand on the crystal again. Its pulse quickened, as if aware that the moment had come. She closed her eyes and focused entirely on humanity. The people of Lyralis, the colonies across the stars, the children who dreamed of a future they might never see. The device vibrated, responding to the depth of her intent. Her mind was clear, her heart unwavering. The choice was hers and hers alone. If she wavered, humanity would fall. If she embraced the sacrifice, the stars would bear witness and hope would survive. The crystal expanded with light and energy surged through the Astrea. The ship hummed with power and the crew felt it resonate through their very beings. Arya opened her eyes. She could see the outlines of the Vraxian fleet before her, but they were now small, insignificant shapes compared to the brilliance of the weapon. A calm settled over the bridge. Arya spoke softly, but with absolute authority. "This is for humanity. For every child, every life, every hope. We endure because that is who we are." The weapon activated fully. Light poured from the crystal, spreading across the void. Energy arcs leapt between the stars, touching the Vraxian ships. Their weapons faltered, their formations broke, and their fleet was thrown into chaos. Humanity's ingenuity had always been a shield, but now it became a storm of unstoppable power. Yet the cost was immediate. The energy reached into the Astrea, testing Arya's resolve. Pain shot through her, intense yet bearable as the device demanded full commitment. She did not flinch. Her mind and heart were focused entirely on the survival of her people. Lyran and Elen watched in awe, their hearts filled with pride. This was the human spirit in its purest form. They could see the sacrifice she was willing to make, and it inspired them beyond words. The stars outside seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging the courage of a single human willing to give everything for others. The Vraxian fleet was destroyed. Ships disintegrated into nothingness, their threat eliminated before it could reach Lyralis. Humanity had won, not because of technology alone, but because a human had dared to act with courage, morality, and selflessness. When the light faded, the Astrea floated silently. The weapon had receded to its dormant state, responding now to Arya's survival. She was exhausted, yet alive. She had not faltered in her willingness to sacrifice, and the device had recognized her intent without taking her life. Humanity had been spared, and the stars had watched the moment when courage triumphed over fear. The crew gathered around her. Princess, Lyran whispered, you could have lost everything, and yet you saved all of us. Humanity owes you more than we can ever repay. Arya smiled faintly, though weariness was etched into her features. I did not do this alone. Humans have always survived because we do not give up, because we face the impossible together. I was only a part of something much greater, the spirit of every human who has ever hoped, worked, or dreamed. Hélène placed a hand on her shoulder. You are a true leader, Princess. Not because of your title, but because of your courage, your heart, and your willingness to put humanity above yourself. Arya looked out at the stars, now calm and distant once more. They twinkled silently, but she could feel their quiet approval. She had faced the ultimate test, a choice that would have demanded everything, and she had met it with integrity and selflessness. The journey back to Lyralli's was quiet. The stars seemed to guide them, twinkling like distant witnesses to the bravery of a human princess. Though the Vraxian threat had been neutralized, Arya and her crew remained vigilant. They had survived the impossible once, and they would be ready for whatever came next. As the planet grew visible in the distance, Arya felt a deep sense of accomplishment. Humanity had been given a chance to thrive again. The people of Lyralli's would never forget the courage that had saved them, and the legend of Princess Arya would be told for generations. She turned to her crew. We have survived, yes, she said, her voice steady. But the true victory is not only in defeating an enemy. It is in proving that humans, though small in number, can shine brightly in the darkness, that we can face impossible odds and still choose courage over fear, hope over despair. The crew nodded, inspired. Humanity's story was far from over, and with leaders like Princess Arya, the stars would continue to watch, and humanity would continue to shine. The Astria glided toward Lyralli's, the planet growing larger with every passing moment. Its cities sparkled in the light of the twin suns, and the air around the planet seemed alive with anticipation. Word of a human princess who had faced impossible odds and survived was spreading quickly across the colonies. Arya could feel it even before landing, the hope and pride of her people, a force as tangible as gravity reaching out from the planet below. She stood at the observation deck, gazing at the home she had left weeks ago. The streets of Lyralli's were alive with humans waiting to see their princess. Children ran to the high walls, pointing at the sky, imagining the adventures of the crew that had faced the Vraxians and returned victorious. Farmers and traders, engineers and scholars all paused, holding their breaths, sensing that something extraordinary had returned. Princess Arya, Lyran said quietly behind her, I have never seen anything like this. The people, they are ready to follow you, to believe in what you represent. It's more than hope, it's inspiration. Arya smiled, but it was tinged with the gravity of what she had faced. Hope is only meaningful if we act on it, she said softly. We have been given a chance, but it is not the end. Humanity must continue to grow, to face challenges, and to rise above fear. That is what the stars expect of us. The landing was met with celebration. Citizens crowded the streets, cheering and waving banners, their joy uncontainable. Hélène guided the crew carefully through the crowd, ensuring their safety, while Arya stepped forward, raising her hand in a quiet acknowledgement. Her presence alone inspired awe. She did not wear a crown that day, nor the robes of royalty. She wore determination, courage, and the knowledge that she had faced the impossible and emerged with humanity's future intact. She addressed the crowd in her clear, steady voice. People of Lyralli's, today we have been given a chance to continue our story. We have survived because we did not give in to fear, because we acted with courage, and because we believed in each other. The stars have watched, and they have seen our bravery. Let this be a reminder. We are humans, and we are capable of facing the impossible and overcoming it together. The crowd erupted in cheers, but Arya remained humble. She knew that their survival was not just her doing. It was the courage of every human who had lived, fought, and dreamed before her. She turned to her crew. Our work is not finished. We have proven that humanity can survive, but we must continue to grow, to learn, and to prepare for whatever comes next. The stars will always watch, and we must always be ready. Over the following weeks, Arya and her crew worked tirelessly to help humanity rebuild. The Vraxian threat had been eliminated, but the scars of fear remained. Cities had to be repaired, fleets rebuilt, and alliances strengthened. Arya led with wisdom and patience, encouraging humans to rely on their ingenuity and cooperation. She also established a council of leaders from across human colonies, ensuring that decisions were made not by a single person, but by a collective that represented the diversity of humanity. She encouraged scientific research, exploration, and diplomacy, emphasizing that humanity's strength lay not only in courage, but also in intelligence and collaboration. Lyran continued his work with navigation and exploration, inspired by the ancient weapon and the possibilities it represented. "Princess," he said one evening as they reviewed star charts, "we have only begun to understand the potential of the galaxy. There are countless worlds, countless civilizations, and we are only just stepping into our place among them." Arya nodded. "Yes, and we must do so wisely. Courage alone is not enough. We must be thoughtful, persistent, and compassionate. Humanity's true strength lies in our ability to face challenges and still hold to our values." Elen, watching from nearby, added, "And we will do it, Princess, because you have shown us what it means to be human at our best. We will carry your example forward." Months passed, and the human colonies began to flourish. Trade routes reopened, technology advanced, and diplomacy strengthened. Stories of Arya's courage and the events in the nebula spread, becoming legends that inspired children and adults alike. Statues and memorials were erected in her honor, not simply as a princess, but as a symbol of humanity's enduring spirit. One evening, Arya walked along the cliffs overlooking the capital city of Lyrales. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows and bathing the world in golden light. She watched as families gathered in the streets, laughing and celebrating life. She felt a sense of peace, knowing that humanity had been given a chance to continue its story. She thought of the stars, which had watched her every step of the way. They had seen her courage, her willingness to sacrifice, and her determination to protect her people. She wondered if they understood the depth of human spirit, the resilience, the compassion, the ability to face the unknown with hope and intelligence. A young child approached her, holding a small model of a starship. "Princess Arya," the child said, eyes wide, "did you really face the Vraxians all alone?" Arya smiled gently and knelt to the child's level. "Not alone," she said softly. "I had my friends with me, and I had the courage of all humans with me. We faced danger together. And together we protected our home." The child's eyes sparkled. "I want to be brave like you when I grow up." "You will be," Arya said, placing a reassuring hand on the child's shoulder. "Every human has the power to be brave. Courage is not about being unafraid. It is about acting even when you are afraid. And every act of bravery, no matter how small, makes the stars watch and the universe notice." As night fell, Arya looked up at the sky. The stars twinkled softly, countless points of light in the vast expanse of space. She felt their quiet presence, as if they were guardians and witnesses at the same time. Humanity had survived, not because of weapons alone, but because of courage, ingenuity, and the ability to choose hope over despair. The ancient weapon remained in the nebula, dormant but intact. Arya had ensured it was carefully secured, understanding its potential and the danger it represented if misused. It was a reminder of what had been required and of the courage that had been shown. She had faced the possibility of giving everything for her people, and in doing so had become a symbol of what humanity could achieve. In the years that followed, Arya continued to lead with wisdom and humility. Human colonies expanded, reaching new worlds, exploring unknown systems, and forming peaceful alliances with other civilizations. Humanity's story became one of resilience and inspiration, a testament to the idea that even when outnumbered, even when faced with overwhelming odds, humans could rise with courage and intelligence. She often visited the observation deck, gazing at the stars that had watched her journey. Each star seemed to carry a memory, a silent acknowledgement of the choices made and the bravery shown. Children who grew up hearing her story would look up at the sky and dream, inspired by a princess who had chosen sacrifice for the good of all. Elen and Lyran remained by her side, loyal companions and witnesses to the journey that had changed the course of human history. "Princess," Lyran said one evening, "you have done more than anyone could imagine. Humanity is safe, and our people have hope because of you. The stars have truly watched something extraordinary." Arya nodded, a quiet smile on her lips. "It was never about me alone," she said. "It was about humanity, about every human who has lived, who has dared, who has hoped. Courage and selflessness are not the gifts of a single person, they are the legacy of all humans, and the stars will always witness that. Time passed, and humanity flourished among the stars. The story of Princess Arya became legend, not as a tale of war or destruction, but as a story of courage, sacrifice, and hope. Human children dreamed of the galaxy, scientists imagined new possibilities, and explorers reached further than anyone had thought possible. All carried with them the reminder that even the smallest human, with courage and purpose, could shape the destiny of worlds. One quiet night, as Arya stood on the balcony of the palace once more, she felt the familiar pulse of the stars. They had watched the trials, the choices, and the victories, and now they watched a people who had grown stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Humanity's light had shone in the darkness, and it would continue to shine for generations to come. A child ran past her, pointing at a distant star. "Mom, look, the stars are watching us." Arya smiled, feeling a deep warmth in her heart. "Yes," she whispered to herself, "the stars have always watched. And now they watch our courage, our hope, and the story of humanity unfolding across the galaxy." The twin suns rose once again over Lyralles, casting their golden light across cities and valleys, over oceans and mountains. The people of humanity stood ready, inspired by the legacy of a princess who had chosen courage, who had faced impossible odds, and who had reminded the universe that humans, though small, could shine brighter than the stars themselves. And somewhere far above, in the silent expanse of space, the stars twinkled as they always had, watching, witnessing, and honoring the indomitable spirit of humanity. The human princess chose sacrifice, and the stars watched.